Siomra Beag.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Tiny Room. Welcome back to On Siomra Beag. I am the Michael of Michaelandbenjaminspodcast. And today I am joined by the man whose internet is a bit spotty, so this could be an interesting episode both to listen to and to edit. It's Benjamin J. Colopy.
I plan on making your Easter Sunday a living hell, Michael, with a whole maze of stops, gaps, jumps, and desyncs.
Oh, very good. Benjamin, the listeners will have an absolutely smooth and beautiful listening experience if it takes me the amount of suffering equivalent to Jesus on the cross himself.
Nice. You know, I heard he sang a song when he was up there, Michael. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Theme music for the podcast. We don't actually have anything music.
Ooh, was that a bit much, Ben? Did we go too far? Did we go too far this week?
You really think that's where we went too far?
Yes,
there.
That's where we went too far. That's where we went too far. Benjamin, speaking of going too far,
go on.
Have you seen the film? Oh no, hold on! I've got a much better segue. Speaking of saviors, Ben, have you seen the film which is going to be the Lord and Savior of the cinematic experience, Godzilla Vs Kong?
No, I haven't, Michael.
Apparently, Ben, not only quite good, but also in the process of saving the cinematic experience.
What does that mean, Michael?
It's coming out in cinemas worldwide, and it has already made more than every blockbuster in 2020 combined.
It's not that hard, really, is it?
No,
Michael?
it's not that hard, but it is a thing. It's a thing that's happening, but it's a thing that's happening, and we haven't seen it yet.
No, we haven't. We've not had the opportunity yet, Michael, because we're still being good little boys and waiting for the bloody pandemic to pass.
Yeah, but the whole country, also cinemas are defunct in this country as we speak, Ben. But look, it's on streaming and we'll see it before this time next week and we'll talk about it with the listeners. But Benjamin, despite the fact that Godzilla vs. Kong is on streaming and we haven't seen it yet, is there anything that's on streaming that you have seen?
Yes, Michael, buttery smooth.
Did you like my segue about the savior of cinema and the savior of Christianity?
Yes, it's a little bit of a Jesus nod, isn't it?
Yes, that's what the joke
very
was.
Good. Is that to be the terminology we use for the entire episode today?
I don't know. I think we might be treading a bit on shaky ground if we hammer that home too much.
Ah, well, we may as well, Michael. So I watched it over 3 days. I watched The Irregulars on Netflix. And the first day I got through the first 3 episodes. The second day I got through 4. And on the third day, Michael, I rose again, came downstairs and watched the last 2 episodes.
Very good and very clever, Ben. Benjamin, what the heck are you talking about? What is The Irregulars when it's at home?
So we gave this a little nod a couple of weeks ago, Michael, where we talked about a strange thing that we saw that was coming up on Netflix, which was The Irregulars. And it's a reimagining, Michael, of Arthur Conan Doyle's classic Sherlock Holmes and Watson if they were in a big occult London, a big spooky London boy.
Is this the one with Millie Bobby Brown?
No, it's not. That's Enola Holmes, Michael.
Right.
Yes. This one focuses far more on the Irregulars, the Baker Street Irregulars, Michael, who are the little ragamuffin children of the original Arthur Conan Doyle tales, and they're kind of like his little network of spies that gather information. Num.
And what goes on, Ben? What goes on?
And what goes on here, Michael, is we've got it's your classic, oh no, somebody's torn a hole in the fabric of reality and now mystery, unexplainable stuff is pouring out. We've got to find the Rip.
Yeah.
It's called The Rip in this one, Michael. The Rip.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And it's about a group of pals.
Mm-hmm.
A group of pals, Michael, who despite what the world throws in, they've got each other.
Ah, very good.
They've got each other.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
That's what my doctor said to me when I kept finding blood in my underpants.
It's a group of pals that keep pulling together.
No, we've got to find the Rip.
Are you actually okay, though? You all right?
No, I have an anal fissure. Anyway, the group of pals, they're pulling together.
Jesus Christ. They're pulling together. They might have anal fissures. They live in very poor conditions. And it's kind of a very grim reimagining. So in this, Michael, John Watson and Sherlock Holmes are no good.
Oh, they're baddies.
But they're a couple of self-involved dickheads that don't really care about other people, which, I mean, fair.
Yeah, that's true.
But John Watson is a kind of...
Ben.
Yes?
Do they have a podcast?
Hello, and welcome to The Rip with me, Sherlock Holmes, and my faithful companion, John Watson.
You're not Sherlock Holmes. I'm Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah,
You're
that's
Watson.
fair. But
Yeah.
you're the man who can get shit done. Like, you're the big, rough and tough guy.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm also the smart one. I want all the good stuff. And you're the sidekick. Fuck, what are we doing? Focus. Let's focus up here, Ben. The Baker Street Irregulars, they're no use. They're no good.
The Baker Street Irregulars are no use. The Baker Street Irregulars are okay. It's Sherlock and Watson that aren't. But anyway, what's happening is a kind of a Monster of the Week show, Michael, where the Rip takes the place of God in London, and if you pray, the Rip answers your prayer.
Ooh.
So, for example, one of the things is that a woman's husband is very ill, and she prays for the power to save him. So she's kind of given occult powers to steal body parts and stuff like this. Very, very grim stuff, Michael. Very grim stuff. Another woman, her parents hung themselves, and she worked in a dentist's office with her parents, and she's given the power to kind of grow clones out of people's teeth to assassinate a duke. There's a lot going on, Michael. It's real body horror stuff in places. We get to see people growing from teeth into full skeletons, into muscle, and we get to see people with their faces peeled off. It's real grim.
Gross.
So they did that element of it quite well, and the practical effects are fantastic. However, I have rarely been so disappointed in a finale, Michael.
We've done whole episodes on disappointing finales, Ben.
We have, and it's no different here. Season 1's finale was just such a damp squib.
Go on.
So they built up huge horror elements, Michael.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. But they built up huge horror elements, and they did a relatively good job of a kind of tense psychological horror that's genuinely unnerving in places. And the monsters of the week are scary because they have a very unusual and very human motivations, Michael. So it's very good. But then when it comes down to the Rip, they all of a sudden in episode 7 kind of expand the world of Sherlock and Watson, and suddenly they stop focusing on the Baker Street Irregulars and just turn it into what Sherlock and Watson used to get up to, what a pair of dickheads. And then all of a sudden those characters are kind of introduced too late, Michael, and you're not invested in them, and then the finale kind of becomes about their big sacrifice, and you're there going, well, hang on,
What about the lads we've been following?
What about the lads that we've put all that time and effort into? And the other thing is, Michael, the ultimate moral of the story is you can't beat your pals.
Ah, good old pals.
And all of a sudden, all the dark magic and the logic of that magic system is just thrown out the window in favour of, we're here for you. Come on, we're your pals. Don't leave us.
Friendship is magic.
Friendship is magic. That's what we get. Also, Michael, there's a fascinating use of the magical black man trope.
No, go on.
Which I feel is very outdated and probably shouldn't be used anymore. But this show says, nah, fuck it. Let's put him in a white linen suit, make him from Louisiana, and have him be mysterious, jolly, and wise.
Oh, I've seen that character many times before.
It's real fucked up that it's still around, though, and a real interesting choice by creator Tom Bidwell. I was like, aside from that, it kind of has the Bridgerton effect, Michael.
Bridgerton?
Where we're to suspend our disbelief at certain ethnicities being in places of power during Victorian London times.
I'm all right with that, Ben.
Oh, no, it's totally fine. But it's just I like to call it the Bridgerton effect.
The Bridgerton effect, I like it, Ben. Bridgerton is on an almost constant loop in my house. It's non-stop Bridgerton in this house, Ben.
Oh, dear.
It is more common that Bridgerton is on than it is not on.
It's on right now.
It's on right now. It is actually on right now. You can probably hear it if you listen ever so carefully.
Ever so carefully. So I like to call it the Bridgerton effect. So it seems to be Netflix's new way of doing period dramas. It's like, well, let's just forget about all that nasty stuff, huh?
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Fair enough. That's totally fine. Very inclusive.
Yeah.
Good stuff, gang.
Remember when people got upset that Idris Elba was playing Heimdall?
Oh, great choice.
Great choice.
Great choice.
Yeah,
it's almost as if racism is a completely illogical and foundless thing, you know?
No, I wouldn't be for it, Ben, in historical recreation.
Oh, in the actual writing of books? No.
Yeah, like if you're making a biography or something, I don't think you want to add diversity to a biography. But, yeah, in your fiction, I mean, if your biggest issue is not there's a mystical rip, but why is that black man in some sort of position of power in Victorian London? Then maybe reevaluate your priorities there.
Maybe just sit with that for a second and figure out why that might be.
Now then, speaking of lots of recasting, have you seen the latest episode of the televisual show, my favourite televisual show currently, Invincible?
Yeah, very good, Michael. I was just about to use that segue myself. Well done. Of course, in that show, Michael, we have Amber Bennett, who's been completely recast or redesigned for this particular show. And we have Rexplode, who's been completely recast and redesigned.
A lot of others have as well. Shrinking Ray was a man originally.
Was she?
Yeah, well, he was, yes.
Oh, I'm very confused. Was he?
Yes.
Pronouns, tricky stuff.
It's tricky stuff, Ben. It's tricky. It's very tricky. Ben.
Yeah.
I am loving the show Invincible. I have to say, Ben, it's turned me into a stereotypical 2000s sitcom character who speaks funny. I am loving it.
You're loving it.
I'm absolutely loving it. It is fantastic because, Ben, it is very true to the comics.
But better.
Not true to the comics. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I could be wrong here, but I don't think Damien Darkblood existed in the comics.
He did. He was just a punchline. He wasn't a key character. He figures out the Omni-Man plot long after everybody else has.
Oh,
and
that's funny.
That's the joke. He comes to Cecil to say, I cracked it. And Cecil is like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
like, where have you been? But here he's a threat. Here he's a real threat.
He's very much a threat. He's one of my favourite new characters, or more developed characters in it. He's like, what's his name, Ben? Etrigan the Demon, combined with Rorschach. Combined with Hellboy. It's brilliant. I love him. He's my favourite current new character.
He's great. Omni-Man is a great villain, isn't he? In this series, J.K. Simmons. Mwah.
You know who, Ben, I am thoroughly enjoying?
Go on.
Mark Grayson's mother.
Yeah, she's so much more interesting now.
She's so much more interesting. She has character. She has personality. She has motivation. In the first half, at least, of the comic book series Invincible, the first 80 issues, she's pretty much just sitting at home being a doting wife.
Drunk occasionally when her husband doesn't come home on time.
Yeah, drunk and worrying.
Yeah.
In this, she's great.
Yeah, she's a take-charge woman who has her own way she wants her son raised. She actually has a say in how her son is going to be raised.
Great.
Which we didn't see in the original. Also, having none of that guff from Omni-Man is like, oh, all of a sudden now you care about your heritage when you've never said two fucking words to me about where you came from.
Yeah, shut up, Omni-Man.
It's pretty good. It's pretty darn good. Also calls him on a lot of his shit. Omni-Man's a real prick where he's like, well, she needs to stop drinking. And she's like, whoa. Whoa, Nolan. Whoa.
Ben, as you know, I watched this with my good lady friend, and my good lady friend went, I'm taking it by the way she just looked at him that he's not usually this mean, which is a very good point. And then does become a plot point that he has become mean.
Yes, that's the point, I suppose, isn't it? She says, what's with you lately?
Yeah, what's with you? Did you kill those Justice Leagues?
Did you kill those Justice Leagues? All of them.
Did you?
Was that you, Nolan, you cheeky boy?
I didn't. I was teaching a boy to drum. I was like, drum that faster, boy, I said.
Do it, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
One of the things, Michael, I watched, as you know, I only got to watch the first episode when we did this last week, but I watched the other episode. Jesus Christ, Michael. Inspired animation when we watch Omni-Man make the Flaxons do what he wants.
Yeah, he beats
dark.
them up. He beats up their whole planet.
So dark.
He beats them up, the whole planet. He just goes and beats up the planet.
He just wrecks them.
Yeah. He's like, send me back, or else I'm going to keep wrecking the place. And they're like, all right, you can go, please, stop.
He pulls a bit of a Sokovia at one point as well, where he just drops a lump of landmass on top of the last remaining Flaxons.
Very good segue, Benjamin.
Yeah. Go on.
One of the greatest segues in podcast history. Benjamin, speaking of Sokovia, Benjamin.
Yeah.
Have you watched the latest episode of Marvel's new television program, The Secret Baron and Grumpy Sharon?
Yeah, it's Shaz and Baz.
Shaz and Baz.
Going about their day. Yeah, so now we have Sam Buck, Shaz and Baz. And it's great. S&B's all the way, baby.
Benjamin, This episode of Marvel's The Falcon and the Winter Soldier took a serious left turn into comic schlockery, didn't it?
Yeah, look, it didn't really do much for me.
Go on.
To be honest, so Madripoor is introduced.
Yeah.
Breaking Baron Zemo out of prison is introduced.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just didn't read like the other two episodes that we...
Not in the slightest.
So strange, isn't it? Like Baron
so
Zemo all of a sudden is a supervillain.
Yeah.
And he has a mask, and despite being in prison for years, he's suddenly fit and agile and able and...
Well, he was always... Remember, he was Special Forces, so he's always been implied to be fit and agile and able.
Well, that's true.
Not a superhero, but, capable. He's a Special Forces operative. And in your action movies, a Special Forces operative is essentially a superhero. Unless there are more than 4 of them. Then they're completely and utterly inept.
Yeah, fair. So there's a couple of things, right? There's the prison break,
Yes.
which seems to happen. I don't know. It just happened very abruptly. I was like, oh, okay.
I liked it.
Right.
It. I know that trope has been done before of describing how you could break someone out of prison and then revealing, oh no, we've done it. And then the guy walks in. I liked that.
Daniel Bruhl's facial expression when the pair of them go, no, is excellent. It's just a face of like, fair enough. That's okay. Yeah, I did try to kill all of you. Mm-hmm.
Daniel Bruhl is a spectacularly good actor.
He is.
And he is brilliant in absolutely everything.
He is.
And he is brilliant. He was brilliant as a cunning, down on his, like a cunning, vengeful, calculating psychopath in Captain America Civil War.
Yes.
And now he is great as a camp underworld villain with, for some reason, the same name in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
That's what I mean. Like, comic book schlockery is probably the perfect way you described it, Michael. It's just a ridiculous world that suddenly exists. Like,
it is hilarious.
It's also hilarious to me that people like the Falcon don't know that this place exists. Like, how do you not know something like this is just sitting there as a nation state of criminals?
Yeah, well, it's not. I mean, it's not a nation state. It's essentially Madripoor, Ben, is traditionally an X-Men location.
It is. It's where Wolverine hides the fact that he's Wolverine by wearing an eye patch.
Yeah, an eye patch, and everyone's like, "Are you Wolverine?" And he's like, "No, I've got a fucking eye patch. Of course I'm not Wolverine.
Of course I'm not Wolverine. Wolverine would heal his eye. You
gobshite. But Madripoor has essentially been evil Singapore. It's Singapore in the X-Men comics by any other name.
It is. It has a really interesting history. The bar that they go to, the Princess Bar, Michael, is actually owned by Wolverine in the comics. He's the co-owner.
Not Wolverine, Ben.
Sorry,
he's got
patch.
an eye patch. He's got an eye patch. It's not Wolverine.
And he owns that bar with Madripoor's kind of lead criminal, who's Tiger. And that's the reference to Smiling Tiger that we kind of get in Sam's alias for this.
Benjamin, I absolutely loved the line, "Only an American could see a fashion-forward black man and call him a pimp."
Yep.
Absolutely loved it. Yeah. Absolutely loved it. It was like, take that, America. Baron Zemo is here and he's from fake Europe and he's got to call you out on your bullshit.
Yeah, he was having none of it. He was like, yeah, I mean, they're trying to do that a lot, Michael. I think they're trying to critique American policy quite a bit. But there's a brand new wave, Michael, of condemning of the show because it seems like military propaganda.
Go on.
In places. So a lot of people have made the argument that it's undermining the fact that there is structural racism and sexism within the US military. And what I mean by that is, yes, it does occasionally paint military people in a very poor light. It's like, I'm not following your orders, and Sam goes off and does his own thing. But it's implying that one person's, they're not all bad apples, or there isn't a serious problem in something like that. And then when they do point out that there's a structural problem, it's like, oh, well, it was Hydra all along. And it's just an interesting side argument. I've no stake in that fight, Michael, because I don't understand the politics of the US military. I was never part of it.
Well, in a comic book world, I don't see any problem with blaming bad things on the baddies. Like, if you're gonna to overturn racism in the US military and have it turn out to be because of some very easily defined baddie, that's how comic books work.
True.
I'm for that. I'm for it turning out that the goodies were mostly good and everything bad about it was because of Robert Redford.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the argument, but it's a lot of this has started, Michael, where most strange movements start these days on TikTok.
Get off TikTok, Ben.
And it's a lot of former Black Service members who are critiquing it. They're very curious as to why it's portrayed in such a way.
Hold on, I'm not with you here. What do you mean exactly? This is all right. So you forced me to go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. So basically, this wave of anti-military, it's anti-propaganda sentiment, Michael. It's not anti-military sentiment, but they believe that the show is fundamentally showcasing an unusual blindness to the issues that affect the US military for both women and people of colour.
But all of the main characters, Ben, are women or people of colour who have been let down by the system.
No, I understand that, Michael, but there's still reigning criticism on the fact that a lot of the time in Marvel movies, this is Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole.
Okay, but I don't think you can talk about this as Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole because, like, Sam is a black man who is he a captain in the Air Force?
I think he's a
I suppose he has some sort of function. I don't know what rank he has. But he has been let down by the system. Sharon got, no one helped her out and she went on the run for 2 years and is now probably the power broker.
Oh, you reckon?
Oh yeah, I'd say so. It's either her or Mephisto.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's an interesting thing. I'll do more research and we'll come back to it next week because we're gonna have 8 weeks for this, and I don't want to put my foot in it without doing mountains of research, Michael.
I'm getting a more anti-military thing from this. Like, the establishment is represented by Johnny Walker and Battlestar, and they're dickheads.
I think Battlestar is already beginning to be like, John, what's going on?
I reckon that John is after the super soldier serum for himself, Ben.
He is. He's definitely going to... He has to be Captain America. He wants to be a big old boy. I told you last week, Michael, he's going to go to Madripoor now in the wake of fucking Sam and Buck and Shaz and Baz. And he's going to... While he's there, he's going to... the last little sample of super soldier serum.
Yeah. Benjamin, I saw the greatest gif of all time.
Go on.
It was fantastic. It was like only two beings in the history of the universe have managed to defeat the Avengers, and then a dramatic clip of Thanos snapping his fingers, and then is Baron Zemo dancing in a nightclub.
Yeah, that was hilarious,
like a real
wasn't it? That was so strange.
Very strange.
Yeah, so just to come back to your schlockery point, because I think that's exactly what put me off this one. It's just a comic book all of a sudden.
It was such a weird change in tone. Ben, did you know this episode was written and directed by the John Wick people?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Because we got our neons, we got our thumping club music.
Yeah.
And, do you know what? It just didn't sit well with me.
Sit well, like the guy from Captain America Civil War. Very good.
Agent Sitwell, yes. And it... I don't know. The reintroduction of Sharon was very strange. Her character's completely shifted, a bit like Zemo's. She's much sassier.
She is much sassier. And remember, from her perspective, it's been 7 years since we've seen her.
That's true. That's
7 years out in the cold.
Yeah, that's very true.
Having been betrayed and abandoned by her friends, who she
helped.
Did all of this to help.
Yeah.
And they all got pardons and got brought back into the fold, and she's now a baddie in Madripoor. Evil Singapore, as we call it.
She is the power broker, isn't she? Very good.
No, I don't think so. I don't think she will be.
Very good.
I think
it's Mephisto.
It's Mephisto, for sure. Benjamin, what did you think of the ending twist?
So Wakanda's back.
Wakanda's involved, Ben.
Wakanda's involved. I'm happy to see that. I love that character. I think she's great. I don't know her name. General...
Io. That's not what? Fuck me! I've forgotten her name.
Is she one of the? She's
bodyguards? One of the door. Yeah, she's one of the Doja Malaje. She's the one, Ben, you would most remember her from offering to take care of Black Widow in Civil War.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then and Black Panther says, as interesting as it would be, we don't have time for this. It's her.
Yeah, okay. ideally, Michael, I would love to see a show with Winter Soldier and her more than I would love to see the current show that I'm watching.
I don't know, Ben. I love Baron Zemo now. Baron Zemo's now my favorite character.
Yeah,
he's my favorite character. He's a totally different person, but he's my favorite character. I
wonder how frustrating that must be for Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie when someone comes on and they just bowl you out of the water. They're just so charming and screen consuming.
All I could think of was Lethal Weapon 3. He was Joe Pesci.
Yeah,
he was coming
and
in.
He takes all their thunder,
stealing the show. And Sharon was Rene Russo, and everyone's just doing Lethal Weapon 3. It was great.
It was like his new love of vintage cars, and he's suddenly a rich playboy, and
his incredibly old butler.
Ridiculous.
I did read something. Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I read something this morning, Ben, that said he's Batman. He's like, his family were killed by something.
My God.
And he's committed his wealth and resources to a life of masked vengeance. He's Marvel's Batman.
It just occurred to me. He's Marvel's fucking Batman.
Yeah, it's brilliant. He's got Alfred on the airplane. It's hilarious.
The twist is going to be interesting. I like the little Wakandan tech that was sitting around. I don't know how in God's name Buck picked up on that, but fair enough. He's a super soldier.
He's a super soldier, Ben. He's a super soldier. He's always punching people.
So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The one thing I really enjoyed, Michael, was, and spoilers if you haven't seen the episode, just very, very quickly, where the super soldier reverse engineer gets shot. I was like, that's very on character for Baron Zemo. That makes a lot more sense.
And a very big parallel to the TV show The Expanse. I don't know if you remember the episode of The Expanse where... Oh, have you seen that far?
Oh, yeah, I have seen that far. Yeah, where Thomas Jane just has enough.
Yeah, it's almost exactly that scene.
Yeah, because, powerful men, Michael, will corrupt absolutely. And,
the thing was, though, it's a bit of a shift for Baron Zemo's motivation. Baron Zemo wasn't against super soldiers.
What was he against?
Specifically, the Avengers.
Yes, because it made gods and icons, Michael, as he's...
Yeah. Well, no, because they killed his family.
Yes, but he doesn't like them ideologically now, Michael, as he explains on the little plane flying over to...
Yeah, but I mean, it was implied then in this episode that he's always kind of hated the concept, going back as far as Red Skull and Captain America originally.
Unless he's just sat with it for 7 years, Michael, and been like, oh, I hate the ideological concept of a hero. Oh.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Too bad for my wife and kids.
That's what it was all the time. Yeah.
But this has always been me.
My wife and kids, the Baroness and the young Duke. Apparently, because he's a full on goddamn Baron now, and he's just like, look at me. His big fur coat.
He's got the big fur coat. Michael, was ridiculous.
Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Benjamin.
Yeah.
Speaking of Captain America's friends, did you see the last trailer for the Black Widow?
Yeah. So I did, and all I can say is, are we ever going to get to see this film?
Nah, it's not even real. I reckon that's all they've filmed.
That's all they've filmed. I think more than ever, Michael, your Taskmaster is a woman theory holds more water, having seen a little bit more of them. And
I think haven't we? Don't we know who's playing Taskmaster?
Do we?
Yeah, it's a man. It's a blonde man.
Never mind then.
Yeah, that's an old theory. It could turn out to be a misdirect, but
they do that these days, Michael.
I think we know who's playing Taskmaster, but he might just be the stunt performer. Who knows?
We understand a little bit more of the family dynamic from the trailer, Michael. From what I understand, it was all a role. It was all a plant family. It was some kind of thing, because they said we were given our roles to play, and then Florence Pugh is like, well, it wasn't. It was real to me, and I think everybody's like, well, that's great, kid, but.
You also went mad in the film Summertime Will Drive You Mad. So
Midsommar, so no bloody trips to Sweden for you.
Yeah, you lunatic.
You lunatic. And that's Midsommar 2 is coming out actually. So Florence will return.
Oh. Is she going to be the crazy cult leader?
I mean, I would assume so. Time jump.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on, Ben, to this week's delightful topic of the week. Instead of sitting here both saying yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that. Michael, last week we announced our topic for this week, and that's what we do on this podcast, because it's a podcast, you see. And
it's
we
a weekly podcast.
It's a
weekly podcast. I'm familiar with
Michael! If you were to fly into space with a pack of pals from your favorite spacey sci-fi TV shows, who would you fucking pick?
Very good question, Benjamin. Benjamin, I think the first thing we have to do on this week's episode of coming together with your perfect space crew is think about, if you're going into space, Ben, and you're going to be on a space crew, what type of space crew do you want to be on?
Do you want a by-the-book space crew?
Yeah, do you want a well-oiled machine? Do you want a by-the-book team? Do you want to do cartographic analyses? Or do you want a ragtag bunch of losers going off into space and having scrapes?
Are you pirate boys? Are you by the seats of your pants captaining?
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing in space? And that very much decides what type of crew you're gonna want to have with you on your spaceship, Ben.
Yeah, because otherwise, Michael, what are we even doing here? We can't have it all mixy.
Yeah, the other thing, Ben, is are you just going into space or do you have a specific mission?
Yeah, I mean, do you just float around until something comes your way?
Yeah, like are you doing a Star Trek where you're going out on a continuing mission to seek out new life and new civilizations, Ben?
But not interfere.
But not interfere unless it's part of the primary directive. Or are you doing... Or part of the plot. Or are you doing a Firefly, where you're just out to make a living, scraping by, doing hard graft and shady deals? Or do you have a Mass Effect, Ben, where you have to assemble the perfect crew to save the universe from an existential threat?
Because otherwise, boys, it's going to get messy.
Because, I mean, you want a totally different crew with you depending on which situation you're doing.
Absolutely.
What appeals to me personally, Ben, the most in a space story, I personally enjoy a ragtag bunch just hanging out in space, doing stuff and going on adventures. That's good for two reasons, Michael. First of all, I don't think you'd suit a well-oiled machine. You'd have too many questions up at the top. I don't think that'd be for you. I don't think that'd be for you, Michael. I think you're your own man and you wouldn't follow orders too well. Well, fuck you, Ben.
Nice. God damn it, ensign.
I'm not an ensign. I'm 38 years old.
What's an ensign? I don't even know.
The ensign is like the first enlisted rank, Ben.
It's been look, Michael. You just never got yourself together. You weren't Starfleet material.
Why? If I'm not Starfleet material, why am I still an ensign at 38? Why haven't they just kicked me out?
Because you're the son of some powerful.
Very good.
Commander.
Okay. Yes. Good old Commander Pat.
Commander Pat of the SS Shamrock.
Yes.
No, you are far more likely to be a Q, Michael, if nothing else.
Ben. A force of chaos. Benjamin.
A force of chaos.
What type of spaceship crew appeals to you? Are you going on adventures, or are you doing a 5-year mission? What's going on?
I think, Michael, I'm going to be the guy sitting in the docking station being like, "What's your code? Ship 65421. I'm not going into space, Michael. I ain't doing it.
You're Stanley Tweedle from Lex.
Yeah, that's it. No, I think what I'd enjoy, Michael, in terms of what I do enjoy is the old bounty hunter ships. I like bounty hunter crews. I think they're interesting. I think they make for interesting plots, Michael. But in terms of what I'd actually like to be a part of, it'd probably be a Starfleet, Michael.
Real boring.
Real boring. Yeah. I'm not interested in space, Michael. Doesn't fill me with much joy.
The thing is, though, Ben, if you're on a Starfleet ship, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're one of the main characters, unless you're Michael Burnham or Geordie LaForge or one of the characters from the show Enterprise that no one watched, you are just doing a job.
Yeah, you are just kind of making a grind.
You're just doing a job. Living. Like, you're going to be... let's say you're bloody Lieutenant Colopy and you're in engineering and you've got your nice blue uniform on and you're on a Constitution class starship with 400 crew.
Pretty sizable.
You're going off, Ben, and you're going off to meet the Romulan ambassador to start peace talks. That is going to make absolutely fuck all difference to your day-to-day grind, because
I got to keep the ship running.
You're going to be cleaning the Jeffries tubes, and you're going to be like purging the antimatter dilithium crystals, and then the following week you're going to be going to confront a mysterious signal on the outskirts of the Federation space, and you'll be cleaning the Jeffries tubes, and you'll be purging the dilithium crystals again. You probably wouldn't even know, Ben. You probably wouldn't even know what your mission was.
That would probably make a really good animated kind of comedy TV show. We should pitch that to somebody and see.
Very clever. You've taken a swing there at Lower Decks. So, Benjamin,
Yeah.
I think for this week's episode, we focus more on your ragtag crew on a held together, spit and polish ship.
I think that's what most people would pick, though, Michael. Because if it's a big, well-oiled machine, it could be anyone with the right training.
Anyone. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter so much. With that in mind, Michael, we had a few set roles that we wanted to take a look at and what makes a good kind of captain and other such things. So the roles that we had, Michael, were...
Yeah.
Let me just
you called them out there.
Let me just pull them up there.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Instagram. Don't do this to me.
You've deleted it, have you, Ben?
No, I haven't. No.
Hold on, Ben just has to find on Instagram. He'll have to just navigate away for some e-girls web pages first.
Look, OnlyFans is a perfectly respectable career choice, Michael, and I'm just helping some people out. All right, just settle down.
Ben, the podcast has an OnlyFans.
Oh, if
we
only.
Currently have no subscribers. You won't send me those butt shots.
Despite you doing your damnedest. So, the captain, the logical mind is what we decided last week, Michael.
Okay. Now, hold on a second, Ben.
Go on.
Before you read this list out, are these lists going to be a combination of roles and character archetypes, or are they one or the other?
Well, that's what we're here to debate, Michael. We're going to have to decide what defines these roles and why we've picked them.
Very clever.
So we had the captain, the logical mind, the muscle.
Yeah. Very important. Yeah.
The hard man. The heart, which I think is actually quite important. The loose cannon, which could be put into muscle.
But no, not always.
Not always, but it's quite important. And the medic. Medic ends up being important here and there, Michael.
All right. Ben, I think we start this conversation by talking about basically the first successful modern space crew story, which is Star Trek, the original series. I don't know if we've had this conversation off air or on air. I think we've had it off air, so let's do it again. One of the major reasons that Star Trek, the original series, was so popular and so successful was the trio at the core of it.
Your Kirk, your Spock, and your Scotty.
Exactly. Kirk, Spock, and Scotty. Scotty has been marginalised a little bit in the new movies. I know he's played by Karl Urban, who's a very big actor, but he doesn't have that role of being in the core three anymore. He's been a little bit replaced by a combination of... it's not Scotty, it's Bones. Scotty is the engineer.
Bones. That's my mistake. Sorry.
Yeah.
Bones. McCoy.
The doctor.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons it was so good and so revolutionary and so important is the interplay of those three characters, and really particularly the interplay between Spock and Bones. That is actually the core of that show, because you have Kirk in the middle. Okay, he's a bit of a maverick, Ben. He'll punch a lizard man.
Okay.
He'll do a two-handed downward punch thing.
Yeah,
he'll
classic.
do that on anyone. He'll kiss a woman of any colour, Ben. Be she orange, green, African-American. He doesn't mind.
Quite progressive for the time.
Very progressive for the time, Ben. I'm sure you're aware of the famous story of Kirk and Uhuru being the first interracial kiss on American television.
Yeah.
and the fact that they recorded two versions.
Oh.
Do you know this story?
No,
I
don't know
this. Two
this.
versions. One for the kind of northern progressive states and one for the southern more conservative states.
Fucked, really?
With and without a kiss. But William Shatner, in one of the best things he's probably ever done, and Nicole Nichols, they made a balls of the take where they didn't kiss. They kept messing it up so that it was unusable. And they had to show the take where they kissed. Anyway, most dilemmas in Star Trek the original series, Ben, come down to an argument between Spock,
the logic,
who is he's the logic, Ben. He's always going, the logical answer is to do this hand thing, and he's going like, we must respect this civilization's own development and leave them to it is the only logical thing to do. And then on the other hand, you have McCoy, who's going, we can't leave them there. They're humans, but they're aliens, obviously. But they're an allegory for us.
God damn it, Jim.
Yes, I'm a bloody doctor, not a whatever the context is this week. And, you know, so McCoy is the heart, even though he's gruff and grumpy and a bit unpleasant, to be honest. He is the humanity. He's the heart of the crew.
Yeah, he is. He's a big old important part.
And then it comes down to Kirk. They're basically two sides of Kirk's conscience. And we get to see the logical mind versus what the heart wants played out on screen by these three characters. And that's what drives the original series.
I never looked at it that way, Michael. That's very interesting.
Yeah. And all of the other famous characters that people love, like Uhuru and Chekhov and Sulu and Scotty, they're all cool and interesting, but Uhuru's job is sitting on the bridge pressing buttons. And, you know, that's her job. That's what she does in the series. And, like, Scotty's job is fixing the machines. There aren't many episodes. There are a few, obviously, where the supporting characters get to be main characters. But Star Trek, the original series, isn't the ensemble that, say, Firefly is.
No, yeah. They're not all clearly defined in the same way.
Yeah, they're defined by their job. Uhuru is the sexy communications officer. Yes. And Chekhov is the funny foreign navigator.
Complex.
Yeah, but I mean, it was the 60s, Ben. That's
Sulu
why he was there.
Yeah.
That's why he was there. Sulu takes his shirt off and attacks people with a samurai sword, Ben. It's, you know, it was the 60s. Things were different in the 60s.
Yeah.
As opposed to, Ben, on the other hand, your Firefly, they essentially split that three-way kind of division of archetypes out into 7.
Yeah, and that's what we got. Then we got a bloody Mal.
Yeah.
Who's just your kind of he's an interesting one, isn't he? He's pride. So if you wanted to look at it that way, he's your proud kind of, I guess he's Confederacy? Is that what
he is? He is. Yeah. That's for sure. Confederacy is. Firefly basically exists in a universe where you have to think that it's in space. The Confederacy lost, but they were the good guys. And I mean, there's no slavery implications in it. So I mean, if you take away the slavery thing about the Confederacy, all they wanted was independence. But you can't take away the slavery thing. You can't really. It wasn't great.
About to say.
We own those people. They're ours.
That's mine.
That's no use.
So then you have your Wash, who's, I guess, your innocence or childhood element of it.
Well, you always have to have someone. Well, I don't think so, actually.
Okay, go on.
Wash is goofy.
Yeah.
But he's not naive in the way that Kaylee is.
Yeah, Kaylee's your naive one. That's true.
Every show has someone who's a bit naive. Well, like every later show has someone who's a bit naive, so they can present the why can't we just do it this way? Yeah. I mean, one of the and then all of the like the grizzled main characters going, well, it's nice that you think that the universe works that way, but it doesn't, you bloody dumbass.
And they get a little
Wesley
pat in the head.
Crusher. Yeah. Star Trek had Wesley Crusher, obviously. Firefly had, is her name Kaylee? It is Kaylee.
It is Kaylee, yeah.
There's so many names going to be flying around today. We're going to get some
it's going to be a tough day. It's going to be a tough day.
Andromeda had Trance.
Okay.
Who was essentially a newborn entity.
Yeah.
Star Trek Voyager had Kez.
I don't know who Kez is.
She was a Kestrel who a young boy in. No, that's Kez the Falcon. I was thinking of the wrong thing. Kez is from a race, Ben. It was the best joke ever. Kez is from a race, Ben, of aliens whose name completely escapes me, but they only live for about 9 years.
Oh.
And although she appears, and her race was kind of protected by the caretaker, who the crew of Voyager kill in episode 2 or 3.
Gobshites.
And no, he was a bit of a prick.
Oh, okay. Good gobshites.
And Kez, despite having the appearance of a 20-year-old woman, is, I think, 3.
Okay, so she's got about 6 good years left.
Yeah, and she's naive and innocent, and she says, why can't we just all get along? And everyone's like, Kes,
Okay.
fuck off. Seriously. I've had it with this bullshit. I'm not getting advice from that 3-year-old.
Okay.
But it's like, imagine if a 3-year-old was intelligent and compassionate and all of that stuff, and then you have to listen to her advice.
Yeah, no good. But I mean, in that crew, like you said, in the 7 that there is, you've got, I think you have the most on-the-nose example of the muscle ever in, what's his name?
Who? What are we talking about?
The big guy. Firefly, sorry. The big guy in Firefly. He's the
Jane.
loose cannon and the muscle. Jane, that's it. And I think Jane is kind of like the most on-the-nose example of, I just want my money. I'll shoot you. And like he's the most on the nose example of that, but he's just a bit of wrath, Michael. He's just another one of the 7 deadly sins rolled on in there. Then you got Gina, and Gina is the logic or the compassion. She's the compassion, I guess.
Gina's the actress's name.
Gina Torres, yeah. Her name in the show escapes me.
Zoe?
Oh, it's Zoe. Good man, yeah, because it's Zoe Watt. She's kind of the, if not the compassion, then the conscience, the not going too far into the space pirates. Bloody.
Because Firefly has a crew, a ragtag crew, a real ragtag crew.
In every sense.
Firefly doesn't have a purely logical character. It doesn't have Mr. Spock. It doesn't have Data. It doesn't have 7 of 9. It doesn't have... So she is kind of the common sense of that show.
Okay.
She's not necessarily the logical viewpoint. But she's the common sense viewpoint a little bit. She's the most well-rounded person as a character in that show.
That's probably true. Then you have your other ragtags. You have the cleric, the pastor. What's his name?
In Shepherd Bush, is that?
Yeah, Shepherd Bush, which is just a really interesting choice of name. Shepherd Bush. Then you have Simon. You have River. But they kind of fulfill smaller roles as you go along.
Well, yeah. I mean, Shepherd Bush is the wisdom of the show, and like they come in all shapes and sizes as well. Like to throw back to Andromeda, in Andromeda you had Rev Bem.
Okay.
Do you remember who he was?
I don't.
He was one of the Magog. He was an alien, a big hairy furry alien.
Oh, nice.
But he had given up the Magog's way of life.
Okay.
And become a kind of non-violent, a pacifist. Oh. And he was the kind of religious heart. Farscape had one as well, the blue lady whose name 100% escapes me and won't be coming back to me.
Don't worry.
They often have some kind of almost Buddhist Zen character.
Yeah.
Is pretty common in spaceship shows. You need someone to be the kind of religiosity, the sense of wonder, the sense of not everything is science, although it clearly is, but also isn't there magic and beauty in science sometimes? Winkety winkety.
Winkety, look at it that way. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Those roles play out in very different ways as you go along. So what do you want in a captain then? What's the goal for a ragtag captain? What are we looking for?
Well, the thing is, you need a captain who, you can just go down the route of cool guy who knows what he's doing.
Yeah, competent.
But, yeah, Picard is a good example of a super competent, super calm. Picard is an inspiring leader.
Well, that's what you want in your captain, though, isn't it?
If you're doing, if you have a crew of 1,000 on a big spaceship that's doing all kinds of missions, you can't get better than Picard, because he's going to look after you. He's not going to send you chasing across the Delta Quadrant like Janeway. He's not going to start getting a bit shady and getting you embroiled in wars. He's a super competent pair. Now, he went a bit mad in the show Picard.
Yeah, because now he's part of a ragtag group.
Yeah, he's part of a ragtag group of desperate people. Get out of here, the show Picard. But I think, to be honest, the best kind of captain archetype is your Mal Reynolds, Captain Kirk type. The ones who are essentially a distillation of all of the other characters influencing on them.
Yeah, fair. I'll give you that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what would you pick? Who would you pick? Come on.
I go for Mal Reynolds. Mal Reynolds is my favourite because he's a bit of a wild card, but he's also a cool guy, and he's not as troublesome as Captain Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to... All I could land on was Mal Reynolds as well, because it just made sense to me.
I mean, you could go Han Solo.
I don't like Han Solo. I don't think Han Solo's a good person.
We're talking about spaceships here, and you're saying you don't like Han Solo.
Yeah, but I don't think I do like Han Solo, because Han Solo doesn't really give a fuck about people, Michael. He doesn't even really learn to do that, because he goes back to being a smuggler in the Disney canon.
Yeah, he does.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't stick with the rebellion. He doesn't stick with his wife Leia, who he was madly in love with. He just him and Chewie go back into space, and they're like, nah, back to
small-time smugglers again.
Yeah, so, like, you don't want that guy, because when shit hits the fan, there's no more Han. Do you know what I mean? So who the fuck wants that? Like, do you know what I mean? That was the best joke I've ever made on this podcast. The nerdiest best joke I've ever made on this podcast. I'm writing that down and making a t-shirt out of it.
Yes, very good joke, Ben. Benjamin. It's a good point, though, but also, he's probably the best pilot.
Oh, well, right.
You know,
and he wouldn't serve somebody else.
Yeah, you see. I'm not saying I want Mal Reynolds. Get Mal Reynolds up on there.
Yeah. I think Mal Reynolds has like a good knowledge of his own competency, though. That's why people like Washer there, because he knows they can do the job. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. He's good at delegating. Mal's good at delegating.
Yeah.
He's got a good sense of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's going to go well for him.
There is that, but also there's the fact that he's borderline in control of the situation most of the time. Like, he's barely got Jane under control. He has no control over River and Simon. It's he's all over the place.
Unless Christina Hendricks is there, and then he has no control over
no control whatsoever.
Anyway, moving on from there, who's what? Like, the logical one is obviously there. Logic, I think the science officer, I guess, is what you're looking at in in Star Trek universe terms, or your logical center. They're really great for exposition. And understanding the set rules of a universe, and they're quite handy for all that kind of thing. Who would you pick, Michael?
So that's your Spocks, your Seven of Nines, your who was it in the next? Data, of course.
Data, sure. He's literally just logic.
Yeah, your Andromeda from the TV show Andromeda.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favourite. I'm going with Andromeda.
You're going with Andromeda.
I said I wasn't just going to pick sexy ladies, but I'm making one exception, and it's Andromeda from the show Andromeda.
Good for you.
Who would you pick, Ben?
I mean, it's a great question. I really like the engineer, the one who can communicate with ships and understand technologies from the Authority. She's a useful kind of thing, like an interface that can work with the ship. Now, I don't know if she fulfills all the roles of a logician or what a logician should do.
You see, I think you're going back to what we were talking about earlier, where you're confusing role and archetype.
Yeah,
because she's not logic.
No.
She doesn't represent the logical side of having a crew.
No, from a plot point of view, I am tackling role, which doesn't really fulfill plot points that I need, does it?
Yeah. I mean, if you want, like, if you're looking for someone who's an engineer, just pick a smart ship. Just have Moya from Farscape as your ship. I mean, like, that ship doesn't need an engineer per se.
Oh, do you know who I would pick? But she's not part of a crew, so it doesn't really make sense. She's from a space show. But you know the really cool UN lady from The Expanse?
The
conniving kind of Machiavellian UN
Christian.
lady. Yeah, I'll put her on my ship. That'd be great.
She's not logic, though.
She is, though. She's pure calculated. She's well able to slow down and assess the situation. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
That's
all
all
right,
I'm
that's
saying.
Like,
She's
if I was useless in space, though, Ben.
Yeah, I know, that's the fucking problem.
There's been several episodes where she's in space and she's like, I fucking hate this shit.
I fucking hate space.
Fucking get me off fucking space. It's fucking shit.
Space is shit.
Yeah.
So that's no good to us, is it?
No.
Oh man, I'll come back to that one. All
right.
Probably the most interesting. Sorry, I would like to read along. One of our listeners sent in their picks as well, so I'm going to do their first 2 picks. So the pilot is Han Solo. So sorry, Kron. I'm after taking the complete wind out of those sails. And in terms of logic officer or logical role with Spock, he picked him for his science officer, which is a classic. It's a
Kron's
classic.
gone for the classics there, Ben. He's gone for the
classics. But let's move on to the muscle, Michael, the one that we're all here to hear about. Who are you picking for muscle?
My favourite. So, Ben, the classic The Muscles are obviously Teal'c from Stargate.
Yeah.
Worf from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Ronan Drex from Stargate Atlantis.
Go on.
Often as well, they're the role of the outsider or the alien.
Yes, they are.
But
Very
not
much so.
always. Not always. There was Tyr Anasazi from Andromeda.
Okay.
And he was kind of an outsider, but also the muscle. But Ben, my favourite The Muscle in any science fiction of the last 20 years was Captain Amos from Captain Amos and His Space Friends. Or as my good lady friend calls him, Big Arms.
He's fucking huge.
Yeah, he's got big arms.
He could crush you with his arms, with his
He's
biceps,
got big arms.
just flexes. Yeah. And that's the end of you.
My favourite thing about Captain Amos, Ben, is that he wins fights.
Yeah, without there's no question.
Yeah,
And he's not there to be padding or a power meter for other creatures where it's like, they mean business when they can kick the shit out of Amos. Because that's not what happens. Very often it's Amos that kicks the shit out of them.
Absolutely. Amos is the best at being the muscle because he wins.
Yeah. I would almost agree with you, but I picked somebody different, Michael, and just for diversion I'll give you I picked Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Very good. He's very strong.
He's unreal. He regenerates.
Yeah.
Okay. He's an extendy fella. He's got a conscience, so you're not dealing with a loose cannon at the same time. Mm-hmm. Okay. And he's a bloody powerhouse.
And he's doing flowers.
And he's got flowers. So you got nice flowers on your ships all the time.
Yeah.
Nice flowers on your ship.
Very good. Very good.
Kron gave us Jet Black from Cowboy Bebop.
Never heard of it, Ben.
Cowboy Bebop is the anime show, Michael, and it's about the bounty hunter. What's his name? Hang on, I'm gonna have to.
Bebop.
I don't think it's Bebop.
I think it's Bebop. I mean, that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I'll come back to it. But anyway, that moves us on, Michael. That moves us on to the heart, I suppose, because we've gone with the muscle.
Yeah. So your heart, Ben, is it could be your religious heart, like your shepherd book.
Uh-huh.
But that's more spiritual. Or your Rev Bem.
Okay.
But it's often also a. Do you throw the heart and compassion in together?
I mean, I think you can. I don't see why you wouldn't.
Then you're factoring in your Deanna Troys.
I think it's Deanna Troy. I think that's who you think of when you think of your heart of a team kind of thing.
You're throwing in your Inaras from Firefly. Nearly always a lady, but not exclusively. Like we said earlier, it's Bones in the original Star Trek. I would say that, they also sometimes bring the human element.
Yeah, they approach things as a human being would.
Yeah, and in that case, in Andromeda, it would probably be Seamus Harper, who we've talked about in this podcast before.
Yeah, you have.
And he's an engineer. That's the other thing, Ben, talking about the difference between roles and archetypes. Amos is the engineer on Captain Amos and His Space Friends, as is Seamus Harper on whatever it's called, Captain Racism in Space. What's it called? Andromeda. Yeah, Dylan Hunt. He's not the captain anyway. He's no racist.
Captain Racism in Space.
Yeah.
I like that. Fuck's sake. So, I mean, I guess there's a lot of ways you can look at that. I had originally picked Wash for that, because I've always liked Wash's kind of childlike look at stuff like that. Even though you're right, it's not naive. It's just a coping mechanism for the horrors of space.
Yeah, he knows what's going on.
He knows what's going on, and he's a competent guy. But I also think he added the much-needed levity to that show that was kind of there. I'll never forget Dinosaur Fight.
Very good.
It's
The
excellent.
reason to this very day, Ben, that half of my room is filled with dinosaurs.
Yeah, the Dinosaur Fight. It was a great choice. So yeah, I mean, that's okay. So heart is important. Does anybody else you'd pick outside of?
Just speaking personally, this is probably my least favorite function. These are the characters who, when they're speaking, I'm always going, no, this is the wrong way to do it.
This is space, damn it.
This is space. Use lasers or logic or get out of there. I don't want to hear about feelings. I don't care for it. So, I mean, I find it hard to pick one of these. When I'm picking this character, it's like, who would annoy me the least?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the danger you run with that character, though, isn't it? That they come off as saccharine sweet and just grating.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, where you're like, ew.
Yeah,
Ew.
Yes, please be
Why?
quiet.
Oh, but it's a little alien baby. Maybe we should keep it. It's like, no, that's going to grow into a monster.
Yeah, get
We
rid of it.
shouldn't do it. Maybe this one will be different. Maybe we can raise him differently. No. He comes from a race of monsters. Okay? We can't do it. We've seen them eat people. This is not a nature versus nurture thing.
Get rid of him.
Get rid of it. So that brings us on to the one that I suppose you made me aware of, Michael, when we were talking about, was it Andromeda? The loose cannon, the one you're never sure of.
Yeah.
You know, they often join on as the anti-hero, or they're often an enemy become friend. You know, someone who was the enemy at the beginning, and you're never quite sure where you sit with them. You're just like,
So you have again Tiranasazi from Captain Racism in Space.
Yeah.
You have the likes of your Vala Maldoran from Stargate season 9 and 10, I think.
I couldn't tell you. You're the
I
man
think
for.
I think it's 9 and 10.
You're the Star Trek man in this relationship.
Yeah. You had, I mean, in Voyager that role was filled kind of by half the crew initially, because if you remember in Voyager the whole thing was it was a pirate crew and a Starfleet crew who had to come together and figure things out.
Oh, that was
So yeah, so there were lots of loose units in Voyager. Even the engineer B'Elanna Torres was a little bit reluctant at first. And
loose cannon-y.
Tom Paris was your classic loose cannon, but also an absolute personality black hole. So he's out.
I don't know. I've always liked they have a bounty hunter on the crew who's always looking out for themselves or something like that. I don't know. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Like, my pick was, again, going back to the Guardians of the Galaxy universe. It was either Yondu.
Yondu's a good one.
I thought Yondu would be a great choice because, I mean, he's a very likable guy to a degree, but also might just put that arrow through your back.
Yeah, he's a bit of a loose unit.
Might just put that arrow through your back when you piss him off. I don't know if that's how it's going to go, but I wouldn't be so sure it wouldn't go that way. And I thought that was an interesting choice because he's good as well. He adds like a little bit of power to the unit, and it's a good idea. And when he's on your side, you're delighted. But when he's not, oh Christ, what a pain!
What could happen, Ben?
What a
could
pain!
go wrong? I think it's only something that Star Trek has recently started looking at, but a Romulan character on a Starfleet ship would be an interesting way of doing that. Because they've already kind of dealt with the Klingons integrating and Worf. And you probably thought when Worf was integrated that Worf would be a bit of a loose unit.
Nope.
That he would be a bit... But he's not at all.
Nope.
Worf is the most by-the-book, honor, loyalty person you'll ever meet.
Yeah, that's it. That's all he needs to do. He's
Yeah,
just
not
like,
gonna go
this
find
is
your
my
back."
job now.
Yeah.
I will stay.
One of my favourite loose unit characters, Ben, was William T. Riker's transporter clone, Thomas Riker. Did you ever hear of him?
You've told me about this, and I still haven't seen it.
He is fantastic. So the William T. Riker was beamed up from a near-miss accident years ago, and it accidentally created a duplicate of him and left him there. Or maybe there's no you can't say which one's the original because of the way transporter technology works.
Yeah.
So one William Riker gets beamed up to the ship, one gets left down on the planet and abandoned for years, and he becomes a hardened lunatic. And he is a cool character. He's probably my favourite loose unit.
So you want him back on the crew?
I want him on the crew. I think he goes on to join the Maquis and become a kind of freedom fighter / terrorist, depending on your point of view.
Hilarious.
Very good. Very amusing.
Very amusing.
Who did Kron say for those characters, Ben?
Well, we didn't get exact archetypes in those sense, Michael, because Kron sent in his own kind of...
Oh, it's classic. He's a loose unit himself.
He's a loose unit himself. So Kron is my pick for loose unit of the Sean Bjug crew, the crew of the SS Sean Bjug. Yeah, I think we're going to have to call it, Michael. We're bloody out of time.
Oh.
We're quite out of time. I know this has been one of your favourite topics. I tell you what, listeners, since I dropped the ball and didn't really get this up in time for the episode, let us know your picks for your favourite amalgam crew. I'll put up another post on Monday or Tuesday, and you can let us know, and we'll do a little part 2 to this in next week's episode, because next week we're talking about Farscape.
I've seen it.
We're doing a Farscape retrospective to see what was it all about, and has it held up at all? In the similar style to what we did with Lex, but don't watch Lex.
I like Lex.
Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, let us know in a couple of different places. You can get in touch with us on our website at www.seomrabeag.com, SEOMRABEAG.com.
It means Tiny Room in Irish.
Or you can get in touch with us on the Instagram at Sean Rabeag, SEOMRABEAG.
Kind of same spellings, kind of same meaning, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. And if none of that suits you, ladies and gentlemen, that's tough because those are the only two that I have off the top of my head.
What's wrong with you?
But do get in touch with us, let us know, and we'll do a little part 2 follow-up to this, because it's one of Mick's favourite topics. I don't think I've ever seen Mick so excited for it.
This felt like the nerdiest episode we've ever done. Didn't it? Is that just me?
No,
it felt like the nerdiest episode we've ever done.
This is the nerdiest episode we've ever done. This is the one time where we're like, will we appeal to a broad kind of base? No.
Nah, fuck the broad base. Let's just talk about space.
That's the name of this episode. Fuck the broad base.
Let's just talk about space.
That's it from us, ladies and gentlemen. We will talk to you in 1
Benjamin,
week's time. Yes.
Tell people to listen to our other less successful podcast, Collecting Issues, and to get up on the Discord.
We have another less successful podcast called Collecting Issues. It's a bi-weekly comic book club where we talk about one comic every 2 weeks, and we kind of just tear it apart and have a look at it and see what makes it tick. And if you'd like to be part of that, because it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's all right.
Get up on the Discord and talk to us live.
Yeah, we're up there. We're up on the Discord every day.
Up on the Discord every day. Up there on the old server. Getting some...
This week's Discord promotion brought to you by a man who doesn't know how Discord works.
I've no clue. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, for us this week. Get up on the Discord, give us a shout, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. See you in space.